Deshaun Watson is back in football, but not as a Houston Texan anymore. He is now a Cleveland Brown. But there's a little bit of problems with the Cleveland Browns while their new quarterback's coming in to take over. Their old quarterback, their old marriage, is still living in the house. So should they have traded Baker Mayfield first? Is bringing back Deshaun Watson the right move? Matt Ryan also has a new home. He is now with the Indianapolis Colts, who are trying to make a push for a Super Bowl. Was this the right choice for a quarterback? What's going to happen long-term with the Colts quarterback situation? What took them so long to pick a quarterback? We're going to talk about that and much more here on the Coach Steve Show podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Coach Steve Show podcast. Back from my week hiatus. I had a little problems for my loyal 2 fans out there. Had a little YouTube problem. I've been fighting with YouTube. Something about a description, something in my description from the podcast network I'm on. They said this was against their guidelines and stuff on YouTube, so it's whatever. I had to appeal it. They didn't look at the appeal yet. Got back and forth with the Twitter, YouTube, and whatever. We've been fighting, so I couldn't upload a video for a week. It's been a rough week. That started happening. Then I had my first ever game as a baseball coach. Didn't go the way we thought, but, started off that way and then ended up getting sick. 101 fever, hot, chills, all that stuff. No, was not, Uncle COVID. All tests were negative. I've already had COVID and all that, if anybody cares. So it was not that. Then I've had back problems, threw my back out, couldn't walk. So it's been a hell of a week. But so took a week off hiatus for the podcast. Not that many people may care, my loyal 2 listeners, but trying to get back to it. Got to waddle my way over to the chair. Yes, I'm an old man that has to put the pillow into my back, have a roller into my back. It is what it is. But I miss podcasting. But positive news is, I'm able to walk, kind of squat down everything. Kids don't get old. I'm 31 years old with a 58-year-old back, maybe even a 78-year-old back. But I miss podcasting. I love podcasting. Whether if anybody listens or not, I love talking about it. It's it's good. So finally back, trying to do the podcast. Spring break time. I have lots of baseball games at spring break. Try to do some podcasting. So be on the lookout. Trying to make my way back. Like I said, been a week. Still recovering from the back. Still recovering from being sick. It's been weird. It's been a weird week. But we muscle through it. Hope everyone out there is doing well. If you're on spring break and you're traveling, travel safe. I hope everybody's doing well. So we're going to dive in to the podcast. Before we start that, please check out Belly Up Media at bellyupsports.com. There's plenty of podcasts out there and blogs on the website for everybody. Not even just sports stuff. There's other things out there other than sports. So again, it's bellyupsports.com. Check out the Belly Up Media Network. This podcast is also brought to you by Coach Stone Football and is back to the basics, books, and drills. If you go to coachstonefootball.com and check out his Back to the Basics manual for all you football coaches that are trying to find some drills to get simple and get back to the basics, it's there for you. So coachstonefootball.com. Click out his Back to the Basics drill manuals. Thank you, Coach Stone, for sponsoring the podcast. So since my week hiatus, if you are watching the video, I do probably look a little drowsy because, again, been in constant pain since Wednesday of last week. The pain subsides here and there, but being in constant pain takes it out of you with back pain. So guys, always lift correctly. Always, Make sure you're using your legs and not your back. Don't be like me. Don't look stupid. So I apologize if you guys watched the video version. I do look a little blah, but my normal look is blah, but at the same time, I look more blah than usual. Audio form, you're good. I have the voice for radio, or I have the face for radio, so it doesn't matter. So a lot of things have happened, so I'm going to try to catch up as much as possible. We're not going to talk about everything. If we were here for everything, we're out here for 4 hours. A couple big things in football. Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is back. The grand jury decided to throw out a bunch of cases. I believe they got 12 more they have to wait on from the, I don't know if you want to call it scandal or everything else, for his misconduct with masseuses. It's been a year or so process. Grand juries who don't always throw things out decided to throw his out. And now he's got 12 more. But when he was thrown out, they said they're not going to charge any criminal action. They're not going to take it any further. So that opened the door for Deshaun Watson to make his return to football, which was on the Houston Texans, which he made clear he doesn't want to be on the Houston Texans with the new head coach, Lovie Smith, who used to coach my Chicago Bears and my Fighting Illini. And I hope Lovie Smith does well. I think he's an NFL coach. He's not a college coach. He is an NFL coach, and there's nothing wrong with that. So teams, as soon as that happened, came out of the woodwork. You heard the Steelers. You heard, I want to say Seattle. Browns put their name in. Bunch of people, Dolphins, they put their name in for Deshaun Watson. And people, I'll tell you this, sending him to the Browns shocked me. And it shocked me because the Browns are currently, were currently in a relationship with their number one pick years ago in Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is still the quarterback on the roster for the Cleveland Browns. So the Browns decide to trade. Now, usually when you get a quarterback, you trade the quarterback you have most of the time, or you cut them, or you trade them somewhere else and get something else and do this and that. Not the Cleveland Browns. They make a trade to get Deshaun Watson, and they still have Baker Mayfield on the roster. And they didn't just trade for him. They got him, and then they signed him to a 5-year, $230 million contract. And it's most guaranteed money on a contract by $80 million because 230 of it's guaranteed. Doesn't make any sense, right? The Browns traded for Watson. He was after 22 women alleged sexual assault and inappropriate conduct. Grand jury threw it out. The Browns said they looked through it extensively to see what was going on. They were people hired in the NFL to look at, and they traded for him. So we'll talk about if Deshaun Watson deserves the second chance or not, but to talk about how they're handling this. First of all, I've talked about this a couple times where it's a business, so they don't have to do things. Baker Mayfield's going to have to handle like a pro, the Cleveland Browns, everything else. But the thing that looks weird is you already have a quarterback. So it just shows you really want Deshaun Watson because you think Deshaun Watson is better. Cool. But don't you think the trade, but the Houston Texans don't want him. That's a problem. But at the same time, don't you think there would have been a plan in place to trade Baker Mayfield? Now they're trying to do that now, but it's so late. What teams need a quarterback? Now I know Seattle needs a quarterback. They could work something out there. Do the Dolphins want to upgrade a quarterback? I know the Steelers just signed Mitchell Trubisky, and there's a rumor that Baker Mayfield could go to the Steelers. I don't see that happening. They're not going to trade in the division. If they do, that's disrespect to Baker Mayfield, but they already have Mitchell Trubisky. So teams out there do need quarterbacks. There will be a spot for him. I just don't like people have their opinions on Baker Mayfield, and I've had my opinions. How he's handled things when he was in college, getting arrested. Sometimes, what he did in college. But in the NFL, you haven't really seen some of that. You've seen him be fired up. This is the way he is. He's going to be himself, which you have to respect. He is who he is. He's not that bad of a quarterback. I think him being shorter hurts him a little bit. He was hurt last year on his throwing arm. He had the sling on his arm, so it constricted him throwing. I think he does get a bad rap at times. Now, I'm not saying he's an elite quarterback, but not that bad of a quarterback. Now, they had a rough year this year. overall as a team. Not just him. Now, he has not been healthy. In 2018, he started 13 games and went 6-7. He had 27 touchdowns to 14 interceptions, 3,725 yards. Okay. Then the next year, he starts 16 games and goes 6-10, throws for 3,827 yards, 22 touchdowns, but had 21 interceptions. 2020, he starts 16 games, and they had that really good year. They go 11-5, 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. So he can be pretty good. Then this year, he had injuries. He only started 14 games. 17 touchdowns to 13 interceptions, but he was hurt a lot. Didn't have quite the deep threat, had to rely on the run game a lot, so he's not throwing it as much. In that year where he when he throws it a lot, sometimes things don't happen, and that's okay. But he's not that bad of a quarterback, because here's the thing: people parade about Carson Wentz. Well, those are Carson Wentz numbers. People are all about Carson Wentz. Those are Carson Wentz numbers. The thing with Baker Mayfield is I do think you need players around him, like most quarterbacks, but you need people around him to bail him out on things. When they went 11-5, they had a whole good team. But the Browns feel like Deshaun Watson is going to be the guy to take them on to the future. Now, here's my opinion on Deshaun Watson. Kind of the same thing here. Deshaun Watson is not that bad of a quarterback, but people are putting Deshaun Watson as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I just don't know if I agree with it. One, he hasn't played in a while. Has not played in a year. So let's be real about that. Has not played in a year. Now, he has good numbers when we actually look at it. And we're going to compare Baker Mayfield's numbers and his numbers. Baker Mayfield has thrown for 14,125 yards, 92 touchdowns, and 56 interceptions. Deshaun Watson has thrown for 14,539 yards. Now, he does have 104 touchdowns and 36 interceptions. And I'm not, because this is not going to try to be an argument of is Deshaun Watson that much better? Probably is a little better. So I'm not necessarily questioning that they want the better quarterback. The question is, you're bringing in this quarterback while Baker Mayfield's still on your team, who you drafted, who you put the money into. You're paying him a lot of money. You put all the stock into him, and then it was just for nothing because he had an injury last year. So it's not necessarily that Deshaun Watson is on the Browns. It's just the way it's gone about. Now, Deshaun Watson has, in 2017, started 6 games. He went 3-3. 2018, he went 11-5. Then he went 10-5. Then he went 4-12. Now, when he went 4-12, he had 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. So he threw for 4,823 yards that year, the most in his career. So he did a lot of good things and got better, but he hasn't played in a year. So my only other thing is he hasn't played in a year, but you're going to give him $230 million. Like most of us, we don't play in a year, or we don't work and we go get another job. We don't work for a year. Do they really pay us that much money because of what we've done in a year? They look at your work history. So all that stuff. And now it combines into, should he be playing football? Should he be having this opportunity because of what's happened? Now, the legal mumbo jumbo, I don't know enough that an adult should. I probably should know more. Now, when a grand jury just throw it out because there's no evidence of stuff like this happening. Yes, in the legal terms, yes, it's fine to bring him in. It's fine. Now, I would just hope as a Cleveland Browns fan that the general manager and the owners do their own look into it. They hire their own people to really investigate what's going on, because there's still 12 things out there, like 12 more people accusing him of something that has to go to a grand jury and that still could come back to him. But as of right now, legally, he's good to go. Now, the NFL could still punish him for him putting himself into these situations. Now, the NFL is very wishy-washy. They're very inconsistent on punishments and everything else. So a lot of hater is coming towards Deshaun Watson. A lot of, does he deserve the second opportunity? Well, a second opportunity, I guess you could call it a second opportunity because he's been saying from the get-go he's innocent. He's innocent. Yes, I guess we all deserve second chances. But yeah, $230 million is kind of where I'm like, wow, he's worth $230 million for not playing for a year. Okay. But legal terms, if they're throwing it out and we don't know of a settlement, we don't know anything else. Okay. Now, if it comes out that the next things that are coming out or the things that got thrown out get brought back because new evidence arises, then we have to go about it legally that way. So as of right now, Deshaun Watson's clean, like besides what's about to happen with the next section of it. But I'm just saying, as of right now, in this moment, as Coach Steve is recording this on March 27th, 2022 years of the earth going around the sun, he's clean to play. So really, there's no problem. I just am like $230 million. And the fact that they have Baker Mayfield on the roster, and I understand maybe it's hard to move him, but there has to be a team out there that needs quarterback and could use a quarterback, and you could have done something. There are going to be fans for the Cleveland Browns that are mad about this, rightfully so, because they're not going to believe or trust the justice system and everything else. And it's just sometimes we have to, and it sucks. Sometimes we have to, and that's the thing. And so Deshaun Watson, as of right now, is clean, until the next ones go through and we see what the grand jury does. So he's a Cleveland Brown. The AFC is now wild. It's wild. The quarterbacks that are in the AFC is just wild. Completely wild. Where will Baker Mayfield end up? I have no idea. As of right now, like I said, the one teams that come to mind that needs quarterback is Seattle. And maybe he ends up in Seattle if Pete Carroll wants him. So that's a team that I could realistically see him going to play. And so don't be surprised if you see him as a Seattle Seahawk, because they do need a quarterback. Most teams out there are pretty settled. Maybe the Steelers, but I don't see them trading within the division. I don't even know if he'd want to go to the Jets. They traded, they got Zach Wilson. So the next step would be Deshaun Watson, just kind of see what happens with the whole legal system for the next part. But in the AFC right now, it's shaking up to be pretty interesting at the quarterback position. To name some off, you have, of course, Patrick Mahomes with the Kansas City Chiefs. You have Josh Allen, Buffalo Bills. Joe Burrow, Cincinnati Bengals, in the same division with Deshaun Watson. You got Herbert for the Chargers. Russell Wilson, now a Denver Bronco. Okay. And then we'll talk about it here soon. We're going to jump the gun here a little bit. Matt Ryan is now an Indianapolis Colt. So now you got him in the AFC. You got Lamar Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens. Derek Carr with the Raiders. Ryan Tannehill with Tennessee Titans. And then now Mitch Trubisky is a Steeler. Like, it's just crazy. Tua at the Miami Dolphins. Mac Jones, New England Patriots. It's crazy, the quarterbacks in the AFC. And if you look at the NFC North, it's crazy. You look out in the AFC West, crazy. So this quarterback situation in the AFC is crazy. And I think that's why Tom Brady came out of retirement, because he said, oh my God. And I think that's why Aaron Rodgers stayed with the Green Bay Packers as well, going, oh my goodness. If we stay in the NFC, I should have to go against Kirk Cousins. I have to go against Jared Goff. Now you have to go against Matthew Stafford and the Rams in the NFC. But if Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Matthew Stafford are like, oh my God, we're just looking at look at the Bears and Justin Fields. We got to go through that. We got to go through Kirk Cousins. Okay. Seattle doesn't have a quarterback because, he left. Okay. Kyle Murray, who they kind of choke sometimes at the end. Like, there's still some quarterbacks in the NFC too, but my goodness, they're looking at it going, those two looked at it and went, let's just stay in the NFC. And then if we get a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers showdown, like, it's going to be in the playoffs. That's what they looked at. But the Deshaun Watson thing then brings up again, which one of the last podcasts I did before the hiatus, right before my Illinois one, and YouTube got mad at me, was Colin Kaepernick. Now Colin Kaepernick's is brought up again. Colin Kaepernick brought up again. Well, we're talking about second chances. What about Colin Kaepernick? Colin Kaepernick hasn't played since 2016. Okay, been a long time. And I'm repeating myself from a podcast before. I'm going to say it again. People get too hyped up on 7-on-7 stuff. They get too hyped up looking at a guy throwing a ball. You got Justin Fields working out with Colin Kaepernick, which I don't like. People act like Colin Kaepernick is Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. If Colin Kaepernick had won Super Bowls and was Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, and then the situation happened, he would have been signed somewhere else. Went to a Super Bowl, okay, and then he declined, and Alex Smith played over him, I believe. So could he have been a backup quarterback at places after the whole stuff? Yeah, sure. Okay, I hear you. I'm on board with that. Could he have been? Yes. Was he blackballed? Probably. I know there was a settlement between the NFL and all that, whatever. I can't comment too much on that because I don't know the situation, the legal stuff, and I don't care. Just don't care. If it's an NFL is an organization to hire people, if nobody wanted to hire him, okay. Because being hired looks at references and all that. NFL is not quite all on references, but it is at the same time. So if they're looking back and they're whatever they didn't sign them, whatever. But that's their choices to not sign them. And part of the jobs as podcasters or on ESPN or Fox or whatever, they can comment on it. But the notion that this guy, after sitting since 2016, could just walk in 2022, 2023 season and start for a team is ridiculous. Oh, well, they're saying he could be a backup. Okay, cool. They could sign him to be a backup. Cool. But Colin Kaepernick has done things to himself where the NFL was going to hold a workout, but then he wanted to change at the last second. He wanted this, and this. And then he compared the NFL to slavery. And I think that's kind of where it fell. It was the end pretty much for him, except now apparently teams are going after him, talking about him. When you compare the NFL to slavery, where it's your choice to go in an NFL draft, it's your choice to work out for a team, and then they're hiring you and they're paying you. So I don't know how you compare it to the slavery thing. And then if Colin Kaepernick really thought it was slavery, why would he want to go back? Because at the end of the day, Colin Kaepernick kind of cares about people outside of him, but at the same time, it's just like everybody else. It's about the money. They want the money. That's what he wants. He wants the money. And I don't know if he knows what he wants to do outside of football yet. Still, after 5 years. Okay. But he wants the money. So does Colin Kaepernick deserve a second chance? Maybe. But that's not our decision. I don't think he should start. I don't think he should step on a football field. And I'm tired of people looking at the video of him throwing a football. Oh, he looks good. Looks real good. Okay. I want to, if Colin Kaepernick really wants to sign with the football team, he will get the elite defensive players and pads. He will get an offensive lineman and rush him and see how it works. And I want to see him get hit. That's what I want to see. So we need to stop flattering over this. We need to stop flattering over this video of him because that shows nothing. Nobody much him. He's got as much time as he wants. Nobody guarding the receivers. So we need to get over that with the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. So we just need to get over that. Excuse me. Technical stuff going on. So we need to get over that and quit comparing it to Deshaun Watson. Staying in the NFC for Pat McAfee, who I'm a big fan of, his Indianapolis Colts got themselves a quarterback. And it wasn't the quarterback I said they should. This guy wasn't on my radar for them to get, but they got him. Matty Ice is now an Indianapolis Colt. Congratulations, though, to Matt Stafford. He is finally out of the Atlanta Falcons because it's been a dumpster fire there since the Super Bowl. Now they've won some games. They've been there. He's thrown up some good numbers. But the Colts literally are a receiver or two and a quarterback away from being a really good team. Their defense came on strong. Their running game is very good. They have good offensive linemen. But I said this when they got Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz wasn't going to win them a Super Bowl. He's not that great. He broke both ankles at the same time. And it proved me right. They shipped him out after 1 year. Just watching that guy play football is very frustrating. So people that thought the Bears should have got him, I'd rather have Justin Fields than Carson Wentz. This is a good move, but the only problem with this move is it's for the short term. Now, I said they should have got Jimmy Garoppolo, but not a bad guy to get either. Jimmy Garoppolo does win football games, but Matt Ryan has been around a little bit since 2008. So he is older. He's 36, 37 years old. This is not a long-term deal. I think they signed him for 2 years, and that he may only have 2 or 3 years left in the tank. Had some rough years in Atlanta. We'll go over here. His record with Atlanta was 120 and 102. He threw 367 touchdowns and 170 interceptions. He has thrown for 59,735 yards. So really good numbers. I know he got hurt 1 year. And they've had their ups and downs. But to do what he did with the Falcons, of all organizations, especially after the Michael Vick situation, did pretty well. His worst years in Atlanta Falcons was in 2013 and 2020. Excuse me. They both went 4-12. I told you guys I'm recovering. Bad podcasting, but I am recovering from a horrible week. So please bear with me if you're watching the video version. Just horrible week. But his stats, those were his worst years. His best record ever with them was 13-3 in 2010. He did win the MVP in 2016. They went 11-5. So I think short term, which is, the Colts. Well, first of all, it took the Colts forever to get a quarterback, but they waited for the right moment. They wanted to bring the right guy in, and they did. I think if they're looking to they're trying to do a little bit about what the Rams did. Now, they need a wide receiver, which Julio Jones is out there for them to get, which I kind of want the Bears to get. So let's not jump too much to that. But the Colts, if they do go out and get a receiver and they have the run game and they've got Matt Ryan, who is smart and can check to the run game, get the ball to their guy, they're trying to do kind of what the Rams did, where they got Matthew Stafford, who not as old as, I don't think he's as old as Matt Ryan, but they're looking at that. They're looking at, can we win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years? And I think that's what we're doing. And the Colts still have cap room. So they can go out and get a quarterback or a receiver for Matt Ryan. This, even though I thought they could get Jimmy G, and Jimmy G is a winner and could lead the Colts to something, this is a fantastic move by the Colts to get a guy who, with the Atlanta Falcons, threw for 367 touchdowns, is fantastic. Is absolutely fantastic. 59,735 yards, fantastic. His completion percentage is 65.5%, which is pretty good. His longest pass was 93 yards. I'm just looking at different stats. Interception ratio is 2.1. He's thrown for 170 interceptions, but, Peyton Manning threw a lot of interceptions too. So it's a guy that, if you listen to Pat McAfee, which I'm sure everybody does, that's probably one big sports podcast ever. He said he looks like an adult that's going to try to play quarterback outside of Carson Wentz. And that's true. There's a guy in there coming to play quarterback, understands the situation, has been to a Super Bowl, understands what it takes to get there. He's won the MVP. He's have a great running game to help ease the pain from him. And he's going to be in a competent organization. Not saying that the Falcons weren't, but they've had ups and downs. And so now they bring in a guy for the city who is, they started off slow, then they got hot, and then they lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars to get to the playoffs. That's going to haunt them, and that's going to be used as motivation. And when they have those core pieces there still, a good defense, good run game, now you got the quarterback, that's what you need. And it's not just a quarterback that's always going to try to hand the ball off. Excuse me. He can, but now you have a guy that can throw the ball when needed, but he can check to the run. It will be a better situation for the Colts. I am happy for the Colt fans. But now you guys need to get a receiver. Julio Jones, if healthy, reunite them. Bring the band back together. They did good things together with the Falcons. Imagine ending their careers, because I'm assuming for Julio Jones, to bring them to the Colts. Now, I want the Bears to win a Super Bowl, but I like the Colts. I don't hate the Colts. Now, they did beat the Bears, but it was hard to hate them with Peyton Manning. It's hard to hate them with Andrew Luck. Hard to hate them at all. They could win a Super Bowl with that. But again, talking about the AFC, the amount of good offenses they're going to see. Matt Ryan is going to have to step up and throw the football a lot at times. They're going to take that run game away. But if they take the run game away against a Carson Wentz team, it's hard for you to come back. You do that against Matt Ryan, and you have Julio Jones out there and the little dink weapons that they have to be able to throw a short game, you've got the guy. You've got the guy. So good job for the Colts. And the AFC is going to be so interesting to see what happens there. It's going to be good football to watch in the NFL. But me, Brad, and Nathan took a poll. We had to be Colts fans last year, and even though Carson Wentz was on the team, I think we still might be Colts fans. We have to check with them. They're busy. Brad parties too much in Tampa, and then Nathan has a kid. The kid, I guess, is a good reason. Nathan, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Coach West. You have a child. Check is in the mail. And by check, I mean the Bitcoin. And by Bitcoin, I mean I'm waiting for the drill. But anyway, but I'm going to wrap up this episode again. I'm still recovering. To be on this podcast is already taken out of me. But I'm back, hopefully podcasting a little more. Like I said, one of the roughest weeks for me leading into spring break. But I appreciate anybody that listens. I know I don't have a ton. But the ones that do, I do appreciate you listening. The ones that watch, I am back on YouTube. I'm not in trouble. I guess I am in trouble, but I can upload now. So thank you guys for watching and or listening. Check out all the affiliates in the description below. Go watch the other episodes. I hope you guys are enjoying March Madness. It's been crazy. I'm not going to podcast on that too much because I haven't been able to, so I'm way behind. But thank you guys for watching and or listening. Check out all the affiliates in the description below. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Twitter at Coach_Steve72. The Facebook page is the Coach Steve Show. YouTube channel at the Coach Steve Show. Follow it, rate it, be a friend, tell a friend, leave a review on Apple, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for watching and listening. This is Coach Steve, an episode of the Coach Steve Show podcast. And like Baker Mayfield, we are scooting out of here.